Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Fari podcast. I'm your host, Joanna Portela, and today we have a special treat for you. Joining us is Greta Cullum, the product owner of Fari Command Workstation. Welcome, Greta.
Thanks very much. Nice to be here.
So, Greta, our recent webinar on making Fari Command Workstation your own was a huge hit. Have you heard any comments yourself?
Yeah, I saw all the comments. I got a big spreadsheet dump of them, and it was great. We got so much great feedback and so many excellent comments and suggestions. So thank you very much for that.
Do you have a favorite comment?
Yeah, someone put under what was the best part of the session? The accents, which was hilarious, right?
Yeah, it really is. So a British person, Carrie, yourself, Australian, and me, Brazilian. So three very, very different accents.
It's a good mix.
Yeah, it is. And we got a ton of great questions from our audience as well. And I thought it would be fun to go through them today. Ready to dive in?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So the first question, and this is a popular one, is this webinar recorded? And I can take this one, Greta. All of our World of Fire webinars are recorded, and we send a recording to everyone who registered, even if it couldn't make it live. And you can find the recording as well on fire.com. Just find our webinar section under educational resources, and there you have it. I'll post a link below so all of you can have access to it. Okay, next up. What is the latest version of Command Workstation, and which version did you show in the webinar?
We are showing version 7.1, which is the latest version.
Okay, great to know. So I have this one, very interesting one. I saw the ad for this session that there are over 50 ways to customize Command Workstation. Is that true?
Yes, if you take a look at all the things you can select or switch on or switch off or hide, display, rearrange, there are actually more than 50, but we just didn't want to scare you off.
Okay, yeah, that's very exciting to know. And can I rename my Fiery servers?
Yeah, absolutely. You can rename the Fiery server name. It's under the Configure tool. Go to the server menu, select Configure, and then you'll be able to see it. I think it'll be the first one under Server Settings in Configure.
And now here's an interesting one. Can you connect to printers in different geographic locations from one Command Workstation?
Good question. Well, technically, yes, you can connect over a VPN, but it's going to be really slow because Command Workstation is designed for local area networks, right? There's a lot of traffic going on between the Command Workstation and the Fiery, getting constant updates on job status, engine status, everything. So what does work well is using Microsoft Remote Desktop to remote into a Windows Fiery server, or you can remote into a Windows or Mac client that's running Command Workstation on the same network, the same LAN as the Fiery server. That's the way to do it. Don't try doing a remote connection from Command Workstation over VPN. It'll just be too slow to use.
Oh, good tip. And someone asked if the interface changed recently because they felt some features were removed or buried. Has that happened?
No, we haven't made any big changes in the interface since we went from CWS 5 to CWS 6, so perhaps they were using an older version. Of course, we're always adding new features, but we do our very best not to hide things.
Yeah, consistency is key. And there's another practical question. Is there a way to make non-admin accounts so staff don't have full access?
Yes, we have user accounts where you can restrict privileges in order to protect certain important settings. It's available in the Fiery Configure tool, which is under the server menu. Select Configure and then User Accounts. Now, the two groups that can log into the Fiery are called operators and administrators. Administrators, of course, have access to everything, but operators can run, import, send jobs, but they can't modify system settings. So if you want to restrict privileges, make the user log in as operator or as a user in the operators group.
Oh, that's a useful feature for sure. And someone else mentioned they can't customize their server list. Could that be due to their version?
Yeah, because we added that feature in CWS 6.8, and then we improved it even further in CWS 7.
Oh, good to know. So let's talk about job management. Someone said, I can only see 49 completed jobs in my Fire Command Workstation. Is there a way to show more?
Yeah, so the completed queue shows all jobs in all queues that have been printed on the Fiery server. So if you want more jobs in there, just print more jobs.
Oh, simple enough. Now, someone asked, How do I make sure the order my Fiery prints is based on when it is submitted? I've had some jobs jump ahead.
Well, on FS500 and newer servers, the print order is maintained by default. So it should maintain the print order from the job order coming into then printing. For older servers, have a look, check if your Fiery server has a feature called sequential print. It'll be available under the configure tool. And then you can print using that queue, and the sequential print will always maintain the job submission and print order all the way through the workflow. If you're still stuck and that doesn't work, then this would be a great thing to post on communities. Make sure you always post your server version, how you're submitting the jobs, your workflow, etc., and we can advise from there.
Yeah, that's handy. Here's a bit of a techie one. Does a Fiery slow down if you have a lot of jobs in there?
Well, it really depends on what you mean by a lot of jobs, right? Are we talking about hundreds of jobs? Then yeah, that's fine. If we're talking about thousands of jobs, it shouldn't slow it down unless your hard drive is filling up. So it's good practice to just open Health Monitor and have a look at the hard drive status. It'll show you, whether it's full or getting full or not. And it's also a good idea to clear out the jobs periodically. You can do that in Health Monitor, or you can do it from the server menu, select Clear Server.
Oh, good housekeeping tips there. Another question. We had a cyber attack and had to reinstall Command Workstation. How can we get the latest version downloaded?
Yeah, absolutely. So from the download center on fiery.com, you can see Command Workstation, the product page. It's all there. Also, you can open Fiery Software Manager if you already have it installed. It'll be in your Applications or Programs menu, and it will always show you the latest version that supports your previously connected Fiery servers.
That will help many, I'm sure. Let's check another one. I'm not seeing the history panel next to the summary. I'm on version 7.1.0.228. Why is that?
Well, this feature, we introduced it with CWS 7.0, but it's only available at the moment for Fiery cut sheet printers. So perhaps this user is using Fiery XF. That might be why.
Oh, that's a good distinction there. Speaking of versions, which version of Fiery Command Workstation started including Fiery IQ Access?
Yeah, we started that with Command Workstation 6.8. We started the Fiery IQ integration, but we added more features in 7.0 and 7.1. So we really recommend you run the latest version.
Oh, nice to know. Now, I have another question, and here it is. Can you remind me again where you can customize your list of Fiery servers?
Yes, you can just click on Look at the Server List, and at the top there's an icon with 3 horizontal lines. Click on that, and it'll bring up the Customize Server List pane.
Okay, very good. And here's a practical one. How do I get a job preview to show? It always says not available.
You're probably going to see not available on jobs that are not processed, so spooled jobs, which show in the light yellow color. So the answer is to process and hold the jobs. You'll see they turn dark yellow, they go into process state, and then you can always see a preview.
Got it. And this one is about backup. Can the RIP be automatically backed up to the cloud on schedule, like every Monday?
Excellent question. Well, right now you can't back up the whole Fiery server to the cloud, but you can set the Fiery server to automatically back itself up to an image on its local hard disk, and you can set the schedule on that. So let's say every Monday you can set it to do its own backup.
Oh, good to know. Now let's switch gears a bit. Why can't you use spaces when you set job names?
You can use spaces in job names. The only places where you can't use a space in the name is in the server name, the preset names, and the virtual printer names.
Oh, got it. Consistency in naming convention is key. And here's another useful feature question. Is there a quick way to copy properties from one job to another without saving a preset?
No, not today, but it's a really good feature request. Thank you. At the moment, it's best just to save a preset for now. And if you didn't want it to show up for everyone, just save it as a local preset. Then it's just on your computer and you can clean it up later.
Sounds like a potential future update. Someone else asked, I'm not seeing tags. Why could this be?
Well, it could be either you're on an older version of Command Workstation or you could be using Fiery XF.
Okay. And here's a workflow question. In the panel view, the order status stays in spooled, but under history, it shows as printed. How can this be adjusted?
Well, if you've got a job in the hold queue, right, so it's showing a spooled status in the hold queue, and you select to print and hold that job, then the job will print. It is now technically printed, but it will still go back to showing the spooled status in the hold queue, and the history pane will show that the job was imported and when the job was printed. So technically both areas are right. The history pane gives you the history of what the job's been through previously, including when it was printed, but the spooled in the hold queue is its current state.
Oh, that clears up the confusion. Now let's touch on user access again. What are the default admin login credentials, or where would I find them?
So that depends on the age or vintage of the Fiery server. Today, the Fiery server shipped with the admin password set as the serial number of the Fiery server, but you can always change it in the server menu configure tool. Just remember, keep a note of it somewhere, because if you lose your administrator password, you can't get it back. You have to reload the Fiery system software.
Where to find those details. And here's a hardware question. We just added a cutter slitter creaser to our shop, and I was told that I could set everything when I sent to print and then move it over to the creaser, and it will have the setting there. Is that true? I'm using a Duplo DC618.
Yeah, well, congratulations on the new finisher. We absolutely support that using Fiery Impose. In fact, there's already a video about it on YouTube. Just Google DC618 in-position layouts with Fiery Impose, and it should be one of the top hits there for a YouTube video.
Very cool. So here's another setup question. How do I get our printer to acknowledge there is a tray 6 and a folder in our new printer?
Well, actually, if it's not being acknowledged, we get all that information automatically from the printer to the Fiery server. So it sounds like there's an issue with the printer and communications. So I'd really recommend booking a service call for the printer to get it all set up right.
Okay, good advice. And after I create a preset and save it, how do I make changes and resave it?
Yes, you can do that in Device Center. Just double click on the Fiery server name in the server list, and then in Device Center select presets, and you can edit them there.
Okay, very good. And there are many different options here that I don't have. I'm on the latest version, but I use Fiery XF.
Yeah, well, this webinar was targeted to our Fiery cut sheet printer users, but we've seen quite a few requests for a similar session for Fiery XF for large format. We hear you, we're listening, and look out for something like that in the future.
Yeah, exactly. And here's a question about hot folders. Once you drop a job into a hot folder, what are the next steps for production?
Well, hot folders automatically sends the job to the Fiery server. So you can choose in the hot folder setup which queue it goes to, for example, the print queue. So if you drop a job into a hot folder and the hot folder is set to print queue, the job will just print, no further action required. But if you set it to process and hold or just hold, then of course you'll see it in Command WorkStation and you can send the job to print from there.
Now that's easy. And here's a customization one. If the number of pages of a document is uneven, is there a way for the Fiery to adjust it for booklet printing?
Yeah, absolutely. By default, we add blank pages at the end of the job when we're making a booklet job for odd pages jobs. But for greater control over where the blanks appear, use Fiery Impose.
Okay, good to know. And here's another one. Why do I not get a preview when using the latest version of Illustrator?
Well, previews show on jobs that are processed and held. Some jobs that are held will show a preview, or spooled will show a preview. But just to be sure, anytime you want to see a preview, just process and hold the job, and then all previews will be available.
Quick and simple. And here is one more on presets. Can you include settings for imposed jobs when using presets?
Yes, when you're creating a preset, make sure you select the Impose template. Make sure it shows selected under the Layout tab in Job Properties. Just one note that if in Impose you use finish size as user defined, then wherever that job's getting processed, there needs to be an imposed license present. So if you're baking it into a server preset, for example, then make sure there's an imposed license already on the Fiery server so it can process those jobs for you.
Oh, I bet that's super helpful for everyone using InPost. Here's another one. Is dark mode available for Windows?
Sorry, no, it's not. We tried it actually, but we had some technical limitations that made certain elements on the UI show really poorly. It didn't look great. It wasn't worth doing. So unfortunately, we only have it for Mac.
Oh, okay. And we do have another one about InPost. So do InPost templated get backed up?
Yeah, absolutely. They're captured in the Command Workstation settings, the same settings which you can back up from the Edit Preferences menu, or of course, if you back up to the cloud using the cloud icon on the left-hand pane of the Command Workstation, then you can back up all of your Command Workstation settings and impose templates there.
Oh, that's useful. I have another one that is more technical. What size USB do you recommend if you want to do an image backup for both bootable and non-bootable?
As far as USB hard disk drives go, I think the smallest size you can buy now is about 250 gigabytes. That should be fine. 500 gigabytes or larger is also fine.
And I have another one here about backup as well. Is a backup similar to a snapshot? And can you keep or maintain multiple backups?
First part of the question, is a backup similar to a snapshot? No, it's not. It's a full system image at this moment. And as to the question, can you keep or maintain multiple backups? Yeah, sure. The automatic backup feature where you can set it to do weekly or monthly or whatever, that only saves an image backup to the local hard disk. But if you want to do a manual backup, which you can do by selecting Backup and Restore from the server menu, then you can do as many manual backups as you like to as many locations as you like.
Wow. And how large is the average image size?
Yeah, that really depends how much stuff is on your Fiery server, right? So when we do a backup, we bypass jobs, but all other items on the drive are captured, and that includes any files or stuff you've left hanging around on the desktop. So if you're looking at a Windows Fiery server, then the backup image, bootable backup image, starts at around 45 gigabytes. And if it's a Linux Fiery server, then the bootable images start at about 20 gigabytes.
Hey. And Greta, expanding on this topic, on average, after the Fire has been fully installed, how long does it first backup take?
That's a tricky question to give you a completely definitive answer because it really depends on how much stuff is on your Fiery and how fast your Fiery hardware is, like what vintage it is. Based on the current Fiery servers that are shipping for Windows, you can expect it about an hour to do a first backup, and for Linux, around 40 minutes. But if you've got an older Fiery server with old hardware, then it may take a little bit longer.
Okay. Now let's talk about something else. Does it cost additional funds to add users into Fire Command Workstation?
No, it's completely free. Add as many users as you like. Remember, you can add the users from the server menu, select configure, and then select user accounts.
Okay. And here's another question. Should I save archived work to a USB drive?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, especially if you want to keep it safe. So in Command Workstation, there's a feature called Archive Manager, and that allows you to select your archive locations so you can save jobs to a local drive, a network drive, or a USB drive, whatever works for you.
Oh, great tip. We would like the ability to put an alias name in Command Workstation for our servers. Most names are IT-oriented names, not operational names. Having the ability to alias the server's name would be a great feature.
It's an interesting feature request, thank you, but there's not a way to do it today. So at this moment, I would suggest, working with IT to rename the Fiery server to something better that better works for you.
Okay. And how about this? Is there a way to print out the properties when proofing a job? I know there's an option to print the property selected, but it would be helpful to print the properties along with the proof, if that makes sense.
Yeah, actually, there's two ways to do this, the long way and the short way. Printing a long summary, open Job Properties, go to the Summary tab, and select the button at the top called Print Summary. Then it prints out a list, a big grid of all of the options in job properties. It can be like 4 or 5 pages long. So that's the long summary that has every single setting. But if you'd prefer a short summary, we actually have a feature that we added in the job log. So go to the job log, select the job that you've printed already, and click the Details button. There's also a little I button in the toolbar. Click on that and it brings up a vertical window that shows the first 10 columns of the job log in a very printable format. So you could also copy and paste it out of there too. But that means that you can customize the job log columns that you see in Command Workstation to show the first 10 fields, to show the most important things you want to show up. So then when you click that Details button on a job, you'll see those first 10 columns with all the information you want, and that's a quick, neat, half a page summary that you could easily print out.
Oh, I like that. And there's another question. I can take this one as well. And can you email me the all attendees and registrant for this webinar session actually already received a link to the recording and the presentation. But if you haven't received that email or you didn't register for the session and is just made aware about it now, you can find the same at that webinar page I just mentioned before, and I'll put the link below again. Okay, so here's another one. I'm wondering if the latest Command Workstation version has fixed the rotated preview problem. On job sent with the rotate command set on in the printer driver, Command Workstation started displaying that job in preview upside down with some of the latest versions.
So that's interesting. In theory, the version of Command Workstation you're using shouldn't affect the way that you're seeing the preview in Command Workstation, because we get sent that preview with a certain orientation from the server itself. So that could be a case that maybe you're using a different Fiery server, or maybe there's some different settings. But this is a really great example of an issue that would be good to post in Fiery communities. So make sure you post the exact steps to reproduce your Fiery server and model version. And yeah, post it there and we can have a look.
Good tip. And here's a very popular topic. What instructions do you have on color control?
We have a lot of advice on color control, starting with the products we offer, such as Fiery Color Profiler Suite. There's also Fiery Color Guard, and of course, not forgetting Fiery Spot Pro if you're using spot colors. If you want to learn more about these, then check out our e-learning site, which is learning.fiery.com.
Yes, we have so much about color on the e-learning. That's a really, really good tip. And let's get back to hot folders. Is that a way to integrate hot folders into the Command Workstation directly instead of through desktop remote location?
Hot folders is a separate application to Command Workstation. It's not inside the same app, but it is installed at the same time as Command Workstation, and they can run on the same computer. So there's no need for a different desktop or remote location for the hot folders. Run them at the same place as Command Workstation.
Okay. And I have this other question. Is there a way to track department IDs within the Fiery Workstation app, working with a Canon G250?
I don't have one of those exact Fiery servers to hand, but some of the Fiery servers have a field for department ID. It's in Job Properties under the Job Info tab. If yours doesn't have that field, just use the Job Notes field. The job notes is just notes you can type in for your own accounting purposes. They show up in the job log, so you can then open the job log, remember to add the job notes column, and then you'll be able to see whatever they typed in, whether it was a department ID or anything else.
Another great customization option. And I saw you created Fiery Virtual Printer, but how do you use or what do you do with it?
Well, virtual printers will be automatically shared across the network from the Fiery server. So it shows as a shared printer from the Fiery server. And normally virtual printers are used for file print workflows with both Mac and Windows.
So I have another question, and I guess they were pretty surprised with something. So they said, wait, is there Fiery Rip for a large format too?
Yeah, absolutely. It's called Fiery XF, and it also uses Fiery Command Workstation as its job management interface. So it supports thousands of large format printers, plus thousands of different cutters and routers. So go on fiery.com and check it out.
Yeah, And how do you reset Fire admin password if forgotten?
Yeah, I sort of touched on this earlier. Unfortunately, you can't reset the Fiery admin password without reloading the whole Fiery server. And that's because we can't add like a reset mechanism to it without compromising the security of the whole Fiery server. So just like Windows, if you lose the password, you've got to reload. Sorry.
And can I print using Secure Print on a command workstation?
No. Secure Print is a print driver feature only. That means you can put in like a code on your numeric code on your print driver, and then it shows up on the LCD of the printer to retrieve, so that it won't release the job until you physically go to the printer and enter the code. But I suppose the question for you would be, why do you want to use Secure Print in Command Workstation? Maybe this would be a good thing to post on Fiery communities.
Okay, yeah, that's a great tip. And I have another one with someone that works with Xerox production presses, and they say that most of them have Fiery controllers. And their question is, does the FS200 act as a calibration tool within the Fiery software?
Well, FS200 actually refers to the name of the Fiery system software version. So that's a version, but all Fiery servers include Fiery Calibrator. Well, at least any Fiery server that's shipped in the last 15 years, 20 years. So Fiery Calibrator is definitely there on your Fiery server, and FS200 refers to the Fiery system software. If you want to learn more about Fiery Calibrator, go to our website, learning.fiery.com.
Perfect. Is there a tool to know the cost of printed jobs? Is there any way we can check the estimate from the Command Workstation?
Yeah, we have a feature called Fiery Smart Estimator, but it's only enabled on some servers. So it'll show up on Command Workstation if we connected to a server that has that feature. If you want to check, go to the Fiery server menu, and you should see an item called Cost Estimation Settings. And if you have that, then process and hold a job and right click on it to show the job actions menu, and there should be an option there called Estimate Cost.
Oh, I bet that's very useful. And what does process on hold actually do?
It rips the job, and RIP stands for Raster Image Processor, but basically it processes the job in order to make big raster or bitmap images that we end up sending to the printer. Once the job is ripped and held, or processed and held, it'll turn dark yellow in the queue of the Fiery if you process and hold. So that then you can make additional changes, such as open it in Image Viewer, so you can change color settings and things before you print.
Okay. And I have another technical question here. Can I change the size of a job in millimeters and not just by percentages?
Well, not in job properties. Job properties, you tend to change it by percentage. But if it really depends on what you're doing. If you're submitting images, for example, JPEG files or EPS files or TIFF files, you can do that with Fiery hot folders. Just create a hot folder, and under image conversion settings, you have all of the filter settings there. So for example, you can choose for JPEG, resize it to a certain output size in millimeters.
All right. So I have another one here. What is the reason that the media needs to be reassigned to a print job that is recalled to print from the printed queue?
That shouldn't be needed. I think there's maybe some details there that we need to understand what's happening. So this is another great one to post on Fiery communities. Remember, post the Fiery server and model and the exact steps to reproduce, and we'd be happy to help you out.
Yeah, and it's free, right? So communities access is free to anyone. So please go there and ask your questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have another question here. Can we get custom info to print on slip sheets?
No, but it's a very good feature request. Thank you.
Another one.
Yeah.
And how do you get to input format settings in hot folders again?
Open the hot folders and open the Fiery hot folder console, the main screen. Select the hot folder, click edit, and then under edit input formats is where you'll see it.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we have another one in customization. Is there a way to customize shortcuts, especially looking to set the quantity without clicking on the pencil?
Not today, but it's an excellent feature request. Thank you.
So many feature requests, huh? Okay, and let's close off with this one that I believe will be very useful for those bigger print shops. I know you mentioned that you can install Command Workstation as many times as you want, but I thought that there was a limit on how many servers you can connect to.
Yeah, there is. Well, we sort of go by the rule of 10, meaning from one command workstation, you can connect up to 10 Fiery servers at any one time. We don't block further connections, so if you've got 11 or 12 servers, firstly, congratulations. But yeah, you can connect to them. It's just that anything over 10, the performance can't be guaranteed. It might slow down things a bit. We also go by that rule of 10 the other way around, which is up to 10 command workstation clients connecting to one Fiery server at any one time. Again, we don't block any more. So if you connect 11 command workstations to one Fiery server, it'll still work. We just can't guarantee that it won't slow down a bit.
Okay. Wow, that was an amazing session. Greta, thank you so much for sharing your insights and expertise with us today.
You're welcome. Anytime.
And to all our listeners, a huge thank you for tuning in and for all your fantastic questions. We're planning to do more sessions like this in the future, so stay tuned. And if you have more questions or just want to learn more about the Fiery solutions, be sure to visit learning.fiery.com. There you can access a treasure trove of free learning materials about all things Fiery. And don't forget to follow us on social media. We're constantly posting updates, tips, and news about what's happening in the world of Fiery. You can find us on Facebook and LinkedIn. Thanks again for joining us today. And until next time, keep those presses running smoothly and your creativity flowing. See you soon.
Thank you.